Great, thanks for that, Shane, appreciate it. So we try to keep our lunch and learn sessions down to 20 minutes or half an hour. We'll be rolling through this fairly quickly. If you have any questions, just type them into the comments bar on your GoToMeeting screen and we'll deal with them at the end. No need to take notes because, as Shane said, if you just contact us at the help desk, we can email you the Word document that I'll be loosely following and send you a copy of the recording. But today we're going to be talking about the new payment times reporting scheme. Now, this is a new scheme introduced by the Australian government and it actually started on January 1 of this year. And businesses that need to partake in this scheme are required to report every 6 months. So the scheme started on January 1. The first 6-month period has just ended on June 30. And at the end of every 6-month reporting window, you then have 3 months to lodge your report. So January 1 to June 30 is a reporting period, and then you have until the end of September to lodge your first report. But before we jump into that, the reporting scheme is basically the new initiative by the Australian government to give more transparency to the payment terms of big businesses paying small businesses. And that's basically what they've done. They've now divided all Australian businesses into 3 main categories. If your most recent financial year you have earned more than $100 million, you are a large business, okay? More than 100 million, you're a large business. If you earn less than 10 million, you are a small business. And if you're in the middle, so you earn more than 10 million and less than 100 million, you're a medium business. And the good news about being a medium business is that you don't need to do anything. You don't need to report and you're not going to be reported on. Right, so basically the reporting scheme now says that large businesses that earn more than $100 million per annum now need to report to the government, the ATO, the terms that they are paying small businesses that earn less than $10 million. Okay, if you're a small business, the only choice you've got is to opt in or out of the scheme, sorry, wrong word there. So if you are dealing with big businesses and you're a small business, you can log in and just say, no, I don't want anyone reporting on me, and that is your choice. There's probably no harm in being reported on. We're not actually reporting individual vendors, we're only reporting total data. If you are a large business and you earn more than $100 million, you now have to register. First of all, you have to register into the Payment Times Reporting Scheme portal. Once you do that, you become a registered entity and you are then required to submit a report every 6 months. The report has 2 parts. There is a CSV file containing all the data that is required that you upload into the portal, and there is just an authorization document that you need to sign off and upload into the portal as well. Okay, and if you're a CRE client and you're going to be reporting, there's a couple of things you need to do. So first of all, you will need to set up a custom field against your vendors to say whether they are a small business or not. So I'm in the AP module, I've gone to set up vendors, and I'm going to the custom field. And that's my custom field here, RT for reporting times small business. And that is flagged yes or no, whether they're going to be included in your reports or not. Okay, so I hear you say, how do I set up a custom field? You go to File, Company Settings, Custom Fields. Your custom field is going to be against the vendor record, and then you click Edit. You can add the field, and you give it the name RT Small Business, and it is going to be a checkbox. The ODBC options down the bottom, allow read and allowed replace, automatically tick, and you want them to stay ticked. And you just say OK. I've just got that error message because I've already created this. And then when you exit out of this window, you'll get a message to say, do you want to update your data? And you will say yes. And that will make your custom field live. You know you've done it correctly when you go into set up vendors, call up one of your vendors, and go over to your custom fields, and there's your custom field there. There are instructions in all the notes, so don't panic about that. So when you're a large business, you need to set up that field so that you can identify who you're reporting on. What the government needs you to do is then upload to their portal a list of all your vendors and their ABN numbers. So to get that, you can simply do an inquiry into the accounts payable screen, vendor inquiries, vendor summary. And you can see that's just brought in some aging details. So I'm just going to remove those fields. And I'm doing that by just clicking in the column headers. I'm bringing up the column options window and I'm clicking delete column. And delete column. Delete. And if I click in there once more, this time I'm going to add a column. And there's all my vendor fields. So if I just start typing OST, it jumps me down to Australian business number, and that is the field I want to add to my inquiry. So now I've just got a basic list of vendor ID, vendor name, and ABN. Okay. In here, you can see the ABNs have been entered differently. Some have spaces and some don't have spaces. There is no correct way. You can enter it any way you like. The only thing that we would recommend is stick to one method or the other. So either enter them all with spaces or all without spaces. Just incidentally, the ATO actually requires no spaces, but we write it into the formulas that if spaces are detected, they get removed. So don't panic about how they're set up. From there, you can just use your export to Excel icon and export this inquiry to, excuse me, to Excel. You can then save that as a CSV file. Sorry, excuse me. And upload that to the payment times reporting portal into what the ATO is now calling the SBI, the Small Business Identification Tool. Don't you love all the acronyms that they create in these new schemes? So you go every 6 months, you're going to need to upload a list of all your vendor ABNs to the SBI tool, Small Business Identification Tool. The ATO process that and then they send you back a CSV file of all the small businesses that you need to report on. Obviously, that will include anyone that doesn't meet the turnover threshold or any business that has opted out of the scheme. Once you've identified the ABNs that you are reporting on, you need to update that new custom field checkbox to be ticked or unticked. We can help you do that. If you send in a ticket to the help desk, we can run just a couple of access database scripts to update that automatically. So don't panic. You will need to run this ABN list every 6 months to keep current before you lodge your report. So once you've worked out what businesses you need to report on, you then need to generate your payment times report. There is a custom report that is available to be purchased from Thrive Technology, and it will look something like this. There will be 3 parts to the report. There's part 1, which is the CSV that you need to upload to the portal. There's the approval page that you need to print out and sign and upload to the portal. And then there's just a vendor summary report that is for your internal use only. I'm going to run the internal report first, just as a sample. Of course, I'm just using GAMI dates here because I'm running on sample data, but of course your dates will just be for the 6-month period. This will show you a list of all the small businesses that you have flagged as a small business that you have made a payment to in the last 6 months. And if we just go to the end of the report, it is these totals and invoice counts that are being reported to the ATO. But you can cast your eye over this to check that you're happy with the data. You can export that to Excel if need be and do whatever you like with it. And that is internal only. The file that you need, the CSV export file, will look something like this. It'll be just a series of numbers and commas and not anything that's meaningful, but you will need to print this to a file and export it to CSV format or text format and then rename it as a CSV. And that will be up, and that is what you will upload to the tax office. And then you need to print the approvals page, which just looks like this, which is just the tax office verbiage plus some names to be filled in and signatures to be attached. You'll need to print that out, sign it, and then scan it back into an electronic format with your signatures for it to be uploaded to the ATO portal. Okay, so I'm just going to recap on that quickly. So for large businesses that earn over $100 million, every 6 months you need to upload to the portal a list of all your vendor ABNs. The ATO will then come back to you and tell you which ones you need to report on. You then need to obviously update your Sage CRE database in the new custom field. You need to run your report for the 6-month reporting period and be happy with the data and upload the CSV file to the portal and the Word document, that authorization that's been signed to the portal. That is what large businesses earning over $100 million need to do. If you're a small business and you do nothing, you have automatically opted into the scheme, and then any large businesses will be reporting on you. If you are a small business earning under $10 million, you have the choice to log into the portal and opt out of the scheme, which means no large businesses will be reporting any data on you. The choice is yours. That's essentially the payment times reporting scheme in a nutshell. Again, we've got the notes, the files there available to purchase, but the and there's some links at the bottom of our document where you can get more information from the ATO. Perhaps I took it out, more information. It is in the one that you'll be emailed, where you can just click the link and go to the ATO website to get all the information about the payment times reporting scheme. What I did notice when I was reading through was that they were quite adamant that penalties will apply to large businesses who do not register and report to the scheme on time. Okay, so repeating that, as most businesses run on the June 30 financial year in Australia, your two reporting periods will be from July 1 to December 31, and then January 1 to June 30. And then at the end of each reporting period, you have 3 months to lodge your report. Right. Any questions? Shane, did that make complete sense to you?
Mute myself.
You're on mute.
Now you can hear me. It was the second run through for me, and even though I'm not an accountant, I understood the gist of what you were talking about.
I was going to say, I just pressure Shane because he's a non-accounting person, so I figure that if it makes sense to him, it'll make sense to anyone.
Yeah, and John's got a question. What fields are used to calculate the terms?
The terms, that's a good one, John. I forgot that. We're actually recommending that you also turn on the date received field. So how do you do that? In AP, you go to company settings, AP settings, invoice settings, and right here, date received usage. Have a look at where you are now. Obviously, if you're currently at not used, you're not using it. We recommend that you turn that on to required. That way, invoices cannot be finalised until that date is entered. If you choose not to use the received date, the reports that we've designed will default to the invoice date. So as far as time periods, it will be from the date received to the date paid is the payment period that you've taken to pay the small businesses. Hopefully that answers your question, John. Anything else in there? Good. Any other questions? The custom report that I have shown you today is available to purchase from Thrive. If you're interested in that, if you just contact our help desk, we'll be able to provide you with an estimate. And as always, that includes being customised to your system. So for example, if you have multiple companies at your GL level and you need to separate that, we customise the report for that. If you're a customer with us that is currently under a a customer care plan, either platinum, gold, silver or bronze, and you need assistance setting up the custom fields or the date received fields, just contact our help desk and we will link up and help you with that. Any other questions? So we're just on, we're not quite at 1:30 yet, so I love it when a lunch and learn comes in on time. Shane, as our lowest common denominator again, have you got any questions?
No, I think we're good. Perhaps maybe talk a little bit about updating that custom field with access. Like some customers might have 20,000 vendors, and you would not want to do that manually.
No, you don't. So if you've got access installed on your server, we can just use access to basically bring in the CSV file that the ATO will return to you and load that into access to update all those fields en masse. We basically run one script that will clear all the fields, you know, basically set everyone back to no. And then we run a second script which will turn the validated ABNs returned from the ATO, they will get turned on. If you don't have access installed at your server, we'll have to discuss other options with you.
Yeah.
We're really hoping that isn't anyone, to be quite honest, because the other options will be quite painful. But no, I certainly, please don't go hiring a new office junior to sit there and click and unclick that field. It's not necessary. We imagine, you know, the first run might take a little bit longer, but we imagine once, you know, the basic testing sorted out, we can update this field using access in no more than 5 minutes.
Kristen asks, what happened to the joke?
Oh, the joke for the day.
You don't have one?
No, I'm not sure they're appropriate to tell on a WebEx. I can't. Well, Callan had a good joke.
We're recording. It'll be stored forever.
Yeah, I know. So I don't think I'll go with any jokes today, Kirsten. I'll have to, when we're talking privately, I'll get back.
John's got another question, which is a goodie.
Okay.
The ATO...
Why can't you...
Go ahead.
I'll go with the joke first. Why can't you trust what an atom has to say?
You told me this one already, but I forgot.
Because they're into everything that matters. Okay, questions now. Jokes are done with.
If the ATO returns ABNs without spaces and we have spaces, will the update still work? Good question.
Yes. Yeah, we basically just add in a formula that brings everything back to no spaces. So it doesn't matter. We just run that little formula over your stuff before you upload it, you know, from the report. And then when the ATO send back you a file of the validated ABNs for the small businesses, we just wave that formula over it again, and it just makes everything uniform. You don't need to do anything with your ABNs. And when you're entering them, you know, and I showed you this inquiry, so just if we go to the phone list and add a field here for, you know, earlier I did say, well, it's good just to have them all one way or the other, you know, and if we were brutally honest, that's just me being a bit of a neatness control freak. So I was going to say, if they're all over the place, I wouldn't worry. The only ones I would worry about are things that aren't entered correctly. You know, see how that's just entered as 111. That's obviously not a validated number. You're obviously better off leaving them blank. If it's an internal vendor or something like that that doesn't have a valid number, leave it blank. Don't put in gummy things. But if you've got a bit of you know, with spaces and without, that's okay. We're system professionals. We're paid to deal with things like that. We fix it up for you. Any other questions?
John says it's got some maybe ends with a dash.
Oh, no. You don't want to put any dashes in there. You just want numbers or spaces. Don't start popping in any punctuation. So you don't want dashes. And again, if you've got a lot of it, don't panic. We can clean that up for you. But going forward, if you're training new staff, what you need to be saying is, don't put in any punctuation. I mean, some clients like the spaces because it does make it a bit easier to read. You know, when you're reading a number like this, it's just a big jumble and you're a bit elderly like me, you know, you can skip some numbers or get a bit dyslexic. But yeah, if you're training up new staff, definitely tell them not to put in any punctuation, hyphens, full stops, anything like that. But if you've already got it in your system, don't panic. We can clean it up for you and take care of it when we're doing the exports and imports. So, in short, you've really got the Australia, you know, for the big businesses out there, first of all, congratulations on having such a wonderful turnover. But the Australian government has now sort of saddled you with a compulsory workload that you've got to deal with every 6 months. So hopefully we can make that as easy as possible for you, and it won't be such a big burden. Okay, so you can, I guess we've filled up half an hour now. Hopefully we've answered everyone's questions. So I guess if you want to wrap it up, Shane.
Yeah, thank you very much, Janelle. We'll wrap it up there. I'll stop recording and we'll make some of this stuff available. And any questions, further questions, to our help desk. Thank you, Janelle.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for attending.
Bye.